Hi guys and welcome to COIC. Today the little bit of chaos I want to look at is manipulation. And yes, we all have very negative feelings about this. It really gets under our skin. But if you give me a moment, I want to explain why we actually want it in our lives. And to start, I'm going to start off at the extreme and say God. If you are religious, is God allowed to manipulate you to put you in the right place, right time to extract the benefit from the situation? And yes, I know not everyone's religious, so maybe that rubs you up the wrong way. Apologies. Let's bring it into kind of real world sort of things. Is a filmmaker allowed to manipulate you, to believe in the characters, believe in the story, the adventure, the lessons learned, everything else? What about your gym instructor, your teacher? Are they allowed to manipulate you, to motivate you, to get you to go back more frequently while you're there, to work harder while you're doing it? And I would argue, very clearly in those situations, yes, because it's transactional. You're paying for the manipulation. So maybe that's why it's okay though, is because it's so kind of conscious, it's so kind of upfront that it's totally okay. Maybe that's it. And that is a point, but let's take a step back. Let's take a step back for a sec and just let's look at the definition of manipulation. And I'm going to use the Cambridge Dictionary, like the online version, whatever, to their definition of manipulation. And they define it as controlling someone or something to your own advantage, often unfairly or dishonestly. And yes, the unfairly or dishonestly does kind of get under our skin, but it's not the issue. It's the part to our own advantage. That's the real crux, because someone's just going to leave you hanging out to dry so that they can get a step forward. They can use you as a foothold to take the next leap. That's the part that is tricky. And I totally get that. 100%. But let's put that tool into someone who actually cares for us, someone who has our best intentions at heart. And we gave the example of God or the transactional things. And God is obviously a person who's meant to have our best interest. But on the transactional front, whether it's a filmmaker, a gym instructor, a teacher, we're paying for them to have our best interest at heart for the time we have them at least. So there's something there. But let's put it into the hands of family and friends. And yes, I know everyone's going to have a horror story of a family member or a friend or whatever who left you hanging out to dry, who just took advantage and maybe you don't talk to them anymore. I totally get it. There's multiple stories. But let's try not to have that kind of visceral bodily reaction. Let's try not to get angry for a second and see if we can put the tool of manipulation into the hands of people who genuinely care for us, if you have that. Whether your friend is trying to get you to talk about a topic that you don't want to talk about, but that needs to be talked about. Are they allowed to manipulate the environment, the conversation, your blood alcohol level, whatever it is? Are they allowed to do these things to get that conversation out of you so you can actually have the discussion out in the open and you might be better for it? Is your, on a funner note, is your parent allowed to manipulate the environment, the conversation, whatever else, to figure out who you're dating at the moment? Because every parent wants to know and every child hates telling or talking about it or whatever. So, okay. Maybe you can't. Maybe this doesn't work for you. Maybe you have too many bad stories. Maybe just because of experience, you can't laugh at that joke. And that's totally fair. That's fine. So let me try once more. What about seduction and humor? They are quite important in our lives. It's can you imagine a first date without seduction and humor, where it was just information transfer? Hi, my name is Nathan. I'm 27. I work here. My hobbies are, my friends are. That would be so sterile. It would be a failed first date. Imagine we're in January now. Imagine what Christmas would have looked like without manipulation. I know that's not humor or seduction, but we are never more manipulative to kids than we are at Christmas. And it's all for their joy, their happiness. So okay, let's not try and build an argument on the backs of kids or whatever, because our hearts bleed for kids, and it's unfair to use that as an argument. So let's go back to humor and seduction and a first date, and saying that some bit necessary. It's some bit fun. And yes, there's 100% places where this goes wrong, and that is when both people don't know that there's a game being played. And it is kind of like it's a game. There's for either humor or seduction, there's a setup of expectation, and then there's like a punchline. If it comes to like humor, or for like seduction, it's more kind of like a setup of expectation, but never actually kind of addressing it head on, like never actually addressing the expectation, just kind of letting it sit there, letting it simmer, having those like kind of cheeky moments where it could mean this or it could mean that, and like we don't know, and it's like, will they, won't they? Like we all get the game, like I know half of you smiled, like feck off. So I would argue that that's manipulation, and that that's a good form when both people know that the game is being played. So what I want you to take away from this video is that manipulation is not evil. It's not bad. You want to play the game. You want the other person to know you're playing and to play along with you. And that's a really important part. But the other important part is you don't want to play with someone who's not playing at your level, or who's not, and I know that's kind of condescending, or that might sound kind of mean or something like that, but you don't want to push someone else around. You don't want to be manipulating them like 80% of the time and them only kind of playing back 20% or something like that. It's part skill, but it's part quantity, or it's there's a mix here of something like that. But basically, you don't want to overpower someone. You don't want to dominate someone and just own them and all the rest. Like, you turn into a bully. You turn into a bit of an asshole. And if you're being honest with yourself, as in like, yes, it might be nice to have someone who does everything for you, but if you're being honest, it's not what you want. You want a partner. You want someone who plays along with you. And the same can be said on the other side. Like, you don't want to be dominated. You don't want to be totally submissive to someone else because they just they do it too often, or they like all of that as well. So I get it. It's tricky. It's not necessarily easy, and I'm not trying to say it is. I'm truly not trying to say it is. But I'm just trying to say that we actually do kind of want it. Like, when the game is being played, when it's being played equally and both people are having fun, and like, you can have conversations you couldn't have otherwise. You can have thought experiments and philosophical debates and everything else. You can say, okay, pause for a second, like, what would ever happen if, and you can just go off on a wild one. and basically I just think that that's something that we should aim for and accept. And when we see people being jackasses, just recognize that it's them saying, hey, like, do you realize that you're manipulating at the moment? I'm not really playing along. Like, you're being a bit of a dick. Or if you're the one that's doing it, recognizing that, hey, they're not bouncing back off me. They're not being sexy. They're not being seductive back to me. It's like, maybe not. Or they're not being funny back to me. They're not being like whatever else. Maybe I'm maybe I'm making fun of them too much. But if you've ever seen a group of guys, they slag the crap out of each other, and it's all out of love, and it's all it's all tearing each other's ego apart, because everyone knows guys have an ego that's way too big anyway. There's trickery there. Okay, that's it for today. I will stop there. There's enough examples. You can extrapolate from that. You can apply it to different areas. So that's it for today. Hit a like, hit subscribe, whatever, but leave a comment. Like, if there's any part of life or part of kind of whatever that you think manipulation is just a no-go, or just kind of questions you have around this, please let me know. Like, I'll answer. I'll kind of give you some big long rant about it. I might even make a video about it. Whatever. So that's it for today. I will see you again next Tuesday. I hope you like this one. Bye, guys.